Proverbs 6:16 through 19 that Derek read for us. There are 6 things which the Lord hates, yes, 7 which are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that run rapidly to evil, a false witness who utters lies, and one spreads strife among brothers. It makes sense that hands that shed innocent blood the Lord would hate. I find it interesting that 3 of these 7 are related to what we say: a lying tongue, a false witness who utters lies, and one who spreads strife among brothers. Those are things that can do so much damage, but they may be underestimated. We don't think of it when we say something that could have long-term effects. I remember when I was first out of college, I wasn't having much luck finding a real career job. And if I remember, my interviews weren't going so well. I'm sure I came across as very nervous, and when the answer was no for the job, I would say, well, I probably didn't do well in the interview process, so I'm sure, I can't remember who paid for it, if it was my folks or for me, but I went to a job training thing where they would coach me on interviewing. And there were other people involved in that small class. There's probably 8 of us, and it was from the entire spectrum. It was from 2 guys just starting out of college that don't have their first job yet, and male and female. Some are making a career change midway through their career. Others are at the end of the career and were just laid off and are looking to find a job. And the instructor had us sit in a circle, and we would practice the interview process. And we would each critique the person that was being interviewed. And I clearly remember, I don't remember what they told me, but one of the guys was dressed impeccably. He was in a suit. You could tell he has been a businessman for many years. He just looked the part. But he was of small stature, and somebody pointed that out and saying how small he looked in that chair. And another guy was told that, I don't think I would hire you because you're a mouth breather. This was over 30 years ago, and I remember what they said. Thankfully, I can't remember what they said about me. I must have blocked it from memory after the other 2 got their advice. But you can see how damaging that is. If I can remember that 30 years from now, how easy it for us to say something that could hurt somebody that they remember for the rest of their lives. We don't want people to remember what we say to them for the wrong reason, that's for sure. I'm going to read Proverbs 29, verse 20. Do you see a man who is hasty in his words? There's more hope for a fool than for him. Sometimes you hear people almost brag, and they wear it like a badge of honor that, if it comes into my head, I'm going to say it. Whether you like to hear it or not, I'm going to tell you the truth. That doesn't always have to be that way. We don't have to be the first one with a good idea. Just we see what this person needs to hear. We see their immaturity, and all of a sudden we feel like they have to hear what we have to say without considering the impact on them or how that's coming across. I'm going to read Matthew 7, verses 3 through 5. There's an expectation that Jesus has for us when we're talking to somebody about something very sensitive to them, their behavior. This is Jesus speaking. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. That's an interesting question that the Lord presents. How can you say to your brother? We have to make sure that what we say to the brethren here is meant to build them up and not tear them down. That requires discernment. It's interesting in 1 Peter 4:15, it says, make sure that none of you suffers as a murderer or thief or evildoer or troublesome meddler. Why would troublesome meddler be mixed in with murder and thief? I can't take credit for it, but somebody pointed out that you're killing a person's reputation and you're stealing a person's respect when you talk about them behind their back or you give them trouble. Gossip is never intended to fix a problem. It's always something that elevates yourself at somebody else's expense. I'm going to read 1 John 4:19 through 21. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear involves punishment, and the one who fears is not perfected in love. We love because he first loved us. If someone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For the one who does not love his brother, whom he has seen, cannot love God, whom he has not seen. And this commandment we have from him, that the one who loves God should love his brother also. Just the way there was as you all know, a space race in the 60s between the United States and Russia on who could land on the moon first. And we all have seen that American flag planted on the moon. We won that race. Well, there was another race in exploration in the early 1900s. It was a race to the North Pole and also the South Pole. And there was a man named Ernest Shackleton. He lost the race to the South Pole, but he decided he was going to journey. He was going to land in Antarctica, walk through the South Pole with 27 other men, and another ship would be there with supplies. Well, things didn't go well. They were trapped in ice, and someone described it like an almond being encased in chocolate. The ship got stuck in a pack of ice, and the ship just was crushed under the weight of the ice. And they literally had to walk home on ice and then travel hundreds of miles in rowboats to get to where they were going and then send back help. And there's some pretty cool photos. They had a photographer on that expedition of when the rescue ship was coming. It was just a speck on the horizon, but you could see the men waving it down, all excited. And they had been lost for 2 years. Nobody died on that expedition. And this Ernest Shackleton is revered in corporate America and other corporate places because of his leadership in crisis. And he always had them staying busy. There's actually a photo of them playing soccer out on the ice. So there was always something for them to do, something to engage in. There were sing-alongs. He made it sure that nobody was ever demoralized. And keeping with the theme of watch what you say, Bradley's not here, so I'm going to talk about him behind his back. Bradley has a Bible study that's going on right now with an older woman, Mary Jane. She's in a home, I think in Amberwoods, and he gives her a tape recorder, and she hears his Bible studies. It's amazing. I got to hear a few minutes of it, and it's so good that I want to figure out how I can send this, put this out to all the nursing homes. But Bradley's not one to talk about people behind their back, as you know. But he's busy behind the scenes working on those things, and I think it's just it's nice to have our eyes opened occasionally, and certainly you guys open my eyes all the time with what you do behind the scenes, and that's something to shoot for, of staying busy and making sure that we're being careful with what we say to each other, and making sure we love each other, and not demoralizing one another with what we say. And that's it.